Come on, would you thank God and celebrate with me the founder, the premier prophet of our time, one of the greatest leaders of all time. I'm talking about my hero, the incomparable, peerless prophet, the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. What a genius, what a gift, what a mentor. Thank you so much for making the world a better place and for being our moral leader. You are a gift, and for that we thank you. Y'all, the push is on, the push is on, and we are so excited about what God is doing through Rainbow Push. I want to thank Bishop Tavis Grant for his sterling leadership. I also want to appreciatively applaud and lift up the Reverend Jeanette Wilson for her leadership as she blesses us through Push Excel. We have a great team here at Rainbow Push, and I want to salute all of the leaders who came and joined with us yesterday to basically declare that this is a state of emergency. You literally have politicians who are using as pawns people who are coming to this country seeking help and hope and asylum, and instead they are being misused and abused in the name of politics. And it is not an accident that they are being sent to cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. All of them are presided over by black mayors who are doing a great job. And so we are declaring at Rainbow Push, this ain't no game, this is a state of emergency, and we refuse to allow you to use human beings, God's children, as political pawns to play your political game. And we are not going to allow you to divide and conquer by saying those who are already homeless are being neglected. No, what we need to do is do what Reverend Jackson said years ago, and that is develop a Marshall Plan for our nation's cities so that no one goes homeless, unhoused, and hungry, including our migrants. And so we're not going to fall for the okie doke of divide and conquer. And so we stood as a team on yesterday, and I want to thank all of our distinguished faith leaders, community activists, as well as our civil rights leadership for joining us on yesterday in making such a profound statement. I'm so glad to be back here at the Saturday morning forum, Dr. King's workshop. I have been on the move because y'all know the push is on. And so since we were last here, we were privileged to go to stand with our striking writers and actors in Los Angeles, and there at Paramount, we stood with SAG-AFTRA. We believe in you. We believe that you ought to have a living wage and not be dissed and dismissed. And so we salute our wonderful writers and our actors, because everybody ain't getting paid like Meryl Streep. They work hard and they often don't have access to health care. We want our writers and actors to be taken care of. But also, we were privileged to go to the border and taking a tour of what's happening at Rio Grande Valley, where the governor of the state of Texas, campaigning to be the Grand Wizard, has determined that he's going to do everything in his power. A lawsuit has been filed, but we saw with our own eyes the contraption in the middle of the Rio Grande River that is basically designed to drown those who were seeking asylum and help, and then to have a razor wire fence just beneath the water line. It is demonic. It is evil. And so thank God that a lawsuit has been filed, but we stand against that kind of evil that dehumanizes our neighbors, that dehumanizes in an evil way those who are struggling and suffering. And so the push is on. We are continuing the struggle. We are continuing the fight. We are standing with the family of Jelani Day as Cameron, our brilliant and wonderful wonderful youth director is on the case, and we salute him and thank God for him. Now, I want to share with you today, as we now are in the midst of going back to school, I want to use as a subject from which to share. But right before I do that, I've got to share with you some special guests I have today that you've got to know and show love to. First of all, I'm so excited to have our pastor of justice at Friendship West. We have a full-time pastor of social justice. She is about it, and I want her to stand. Pastor Danielle Ayers, thank you so much for your leadership. You will see a lot of her. She is a gift. She is an activist. She is a leader and a servant and a preacher of the gospel. She is, watch this, has a master's of divinity and a master's in public policy. That's a bad sister right there, and working on her doctorate degree right now. And so guess what? The push is on. But also, I'm glad to have with us our chief strategist, Alicia Trusty, also working on her doctorate degree from Friendship West. Thank you so much for being with us today. Our educational leader has challenged us, and so Dr. Whitaker, thank you so much for what you are doing today. I want to talk about, yes, give it up for Dr. Sonia Whitaker for her leadership. I want to talk today from the subject, strong minds break strong chains. Strong minds break strong chains. If you need a text, it's found in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, where the Apostle Paul writes to the Christians at Rome, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. In the Freddie Haynes remix, and don't allow the world to squeeze you in its mold, but instead experience the power of metamorphosis and be transformed by the renovation of your mind. So I want to talk about strong minds break strong chains. Sadly, sinfully, shamefully, the politics of gaslighting has resulted in the misinforming and even the deforming of our education system. Yes, the politics of gaslighting is now shaping policy as it relates to public education. And one may well put in conversation the brilliance of Jacob Carruthers and Bobby Wright, both Chicago-based brilliant educators and activists. Jacob Carruthers, in his book, Intellectual Warfare, coined a term, historicide. You've heard of homicide, genocide, suicide. Jacob Carruthers speaks of historicide, the murder of our collective memory as we engage in revisionist history, historicide. But not only do we have historicide, but we have what Bobby Wright, the brilliant black psychologist, called menticide. Historicide is resulting in the menticide of our children. Menticide, of course, the murder of our minds. Historicide, which engages in revisionist history, as it lifts up the contributions of some while minimizing the contributions of those who were othered. That is historicide. Historicide engages in rewriting. Yeah, I like that. Rewriting and rewriting history so that some are lifted up while others are held down. Historicide is what we see happening in the state of Florida, where one particular governor, again campaigning to be the grand wizard, has declared declared that there is no redeeming value in Africana studies. He's engaging in historicide, but always remember that historicide sets the stage for menticide. The murder of our collective memory is designed to murder our minds. No wonder the African proverb said, if you grab a snake by its head, the rest of its body becomes a rope. Whenever there is historicide, it eventuates in menticide. Y'all not feeling me like I need you to. Let me see if I can make this real plain. It was a cold, dark night in December of 1944. World War II is going on, and psychological warfare takes place as German paratroopers on this cold, dark night in December of 1944, they somehow penetrated Allied lines, and what they did was engage in what history now calls the Battle of the Bulge. In the Battle of the Bulge, watch it, it's psychological warfare, it's menticide that is taking place because they penetrate Allied lines and they do not kill, steal, or maim, but instead they spent the entire night changing all of the street signs on all of the streets in this major metropolitan city that was strategically significant because of its geographical location. They spent that night changing the signs. Use now your anointed imagination as the populace wakes up the next morning, greeted by the sun, getting ready to navigate the streets and go to their respective places of work. But hold on, many of them got lost and the city was in chaos because somebody the night before, engaging in psychological warfare, had changed all of the signs on all of the streets in this major metropolitan city that was strategically significant because of its geographical location. What a metaphor, my sisters and brothers, for what is happening in our nation in the realm of education today. There are those engaged in the politics of gaslighting, and they are changing the signs, and as they change the signs, we find our educational environment in chaos. Our children find themselves going to schools where lies are taught instead of the truth because there is a determination to protect, watch this, the feelings of children whose ancestors were perhaps on the wrong side of history, and so they're changing the signs and utilizing the politics of gaslighting. Psychological warfare is taking place. Historicide is setting the stage for menticide, but here we are at Rainbow Push, determined to say we are going to rechange the signs and deliver our children from this context of chaos. Why? Because here we are recognizing that strong minds can break strong chains. Well, I thought y'all had been shouting when I announced my subject, because you know my subject is fly. My subject is fire, but it's not original with me. There is a peerless prophet, a drum major for justice named Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr., who years ago coined the phrase, strong minds break strong chains. It was Jesse Jackson, as Push Excel was born, who went into schools that were oftentimes populated by students who were given up on. And Jesse Jackson, watch this, would gather an assembly, and there in that assembly, students would pack out the auditorium and hear Jesse Jackson rapping before hip-hop as he would have them repeat, "I am somebody." Imagine that, kids who were treated like nobodies all of a sudden held up their their fist in the air and waved them like they really cared. And they declared, I am somebody, as they heard a protege of Martin Luther King Jr. declare to them, say, I am somebody. And then watch Jesse rap as he would say, repeat after me. My mind is a pearl. I can accomplish anything in the world. Rap, Jesse, rap. Not only that, but he would say, in this life, it's not your aptitude, but your attitude that determines your altitude. And then Reverend Jackson would say, strong minds can break strong chains. And that's what we've come to say here at Rainbow Push. In spite of the politics of gaslighting, in spite of you trying to change the signs, we are here to say strong minds break strong chains. Well, y'all think I'm not in the Bible, but is that not what is happening in the context of our text? The Bible lets us know. I'm about to shout. Don't miss your shout. The Bible lets us know that Paul is writing the Christians in Rome. In just a few decades, the politics of gaslighting was going to result in street signs being changed. I'll help you right quick. In just a few decades, Nero would say about Christians that they were engaged in cannibalism. Why? Because they claimed to, during the Lord's Supper, eat the body and drink the blood of Jesus Christ. It's the politics of gaslighting, manipulating reality for your political agenda. And before you know it, then Nero declared that they were not only cannibalistic, they were engaged in incestuous relationships because they claimed to love each other as sisters and brothers. It's called the politics of gaslighting and changing the signs. But look what Paul does. When you read the book of Romans, Dr. Whitaker, you'll discover that Paul uses history, literature, philosophy, poetry, and theology. It's a literal theological school. It's an educational experience. And then Paul says in chapter 12, verse 2, so don't allow the world to shape you in its mold, but instead be transformed by the renewing of your mind, because strong minds can break strong chains. Thank you, Jesse Jackson, for letting us know that strong minds can break strong chains. And that's what we've got to say to America. Our strong minds are going to break strong chains. We can break the strong chains of an immigration policy that is racist and barbaric because we've got strong minds. Our strong minds can ensure that every child has access to STEM and STEAM education. Our strong minds can break strong chains, and we can ensure that we develop a technology where nobody goes unhoused, nobody goes hungry. Our strong minds can break the strong chains of climate change, and we can fight environmental racism and environmental injustice. Our strong minds are going to break strong chains. Preach, Freddie Haynes. I already am. So how does it happen? I'm almost done. Watch the text. The text says, and be not conformed to this world. Don't let the world shape you in its mold. I'm trying not to shout. I guess the first thing I can say is if strong minds are not going to break strong chains, and my thesis is taken from a statement made yesterday by one of our brilliant educator activists who said and challenged us to develop an educational agenda where we don't wait for others to develop our educational agenda, but we develop our educational agenda. We cannot expect Hitler to educate our children. We cannot expect Pharaoh to educate our children into emancipation. We've got to have our own educational agenda. And when we have it, watch this, I love it. It's because instead of going with the flow, we create the flow. Y'all missed your shout right there. I'll let you know right quick that I'm remixing Jay-Z, because Jay-Z rap, he said, don't go with the flow, be the flow. You didn't shout. And be not conformed to this world. Don't go with the flow, be the flow. Because y'all know the flow is going in the wrong direction. Have you checked the flow? According to one educational organization, do you know that right now, $226 billion goes to white school districts more than poor school districts? And even poor white districts receive more money than the average black school district. That's the flow that we can't go with. We've got to disrupt the flow, because the flow is going in the wrong direction. Y'all didn't shout. I got to give it to you like this. Jesse Jackson, would you please help us, because they're missing the flow. Jesse Jackson saw the flow going in the wrong direction and said it now costs more for this country to put folk in jail than to send a student to Yale. I guess he was saying that's a flow that we've got to disrupt. I'm trying to let you know the flow is going in the wrong direction. We've got to disrupt the flow. I think Franz Fanon put it like this in of the earth, that we are over-determined from without. And in order for us to stop that, we've got to make up our minds that we're not going to go with the flow. We're going to create a brand new flow. What does that look like? It looks like freedom schools. What does that look like? It looks like taking over local boards of education and bringing to them our educational agenda. What does it look like? It looks like using our churches empty so much during the week as places for our children to come after school and learn our true history. We can't go with the flow. We got to create the flow. I guess I'm not coming through, but I am saying some good stuff. It's in our DNA. Do you not know? Please Google when you can. Edward Berry Meacham, born in the late 1700s into slavery, and yet somehow worked through carpentry to free himself, to free his wife, believing in the power of education. Brother Meacham, there, watch this, goes to Missouri, and there in Missouri begins to educate our children. But while he was educating our children in 1849, do you not know St. Louis made it illegal for black kids to get an education? What did Brother Meacham do? Brother Meacham decides, all right, since I can't educate the kids in St. Louis, I'm going to use a steamboat. And y'all, right on the Mississippi River, he set up a steamboat with chairs and desks and began to have a floating freedom school, because he made up his mind, I ain't going to go with the flow. I'm going to create a brand new flow. Strong minds always break strong chains. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I got to quit. I've held y'all too long. But I guess the last piece I'm saying is, after you make up your mind to not go with the flow, but to create a brand new flow, the biblical text challenges us, and this is what gets me, and that is, if your mind experiences renovation, then it will lead to transformation. You didn't get that, did you? Whenever we experience mental renovation, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing. I knew I would be here at Push today, so I had to do my homework, and etymologically, I unpacked the word renew. In the Greek New Testament, it's going to shout you. The word renew in the Greek New Testament was also used as a synonym for renovate, or renovation, or reconstruction. And don't be conformed. Don't let the world shape you in its mold, but instead be transformed by the renovation of your mind. Y'all didn't get that. Be transformed by the reconstruction of your mind, because strong minds break strong chains. And when your mind gets renovated, when your mind gets reconstructed, strong minds can break strong chains. I love that so much. Martin King looked at this text and preached a sermon called A Transformed Nonconformist, because when your mind has been changed, you don't conform to the powers of this age. When your mind has been changed, you become a transformed nonconformist. Colin Kaepernick testified. I hope you saw his testimony, because Colin Kaepernick in his documentary testified that when he was growing up, he was an athlete, a star in baseball and football in his high school, and yet he was wearing, watch this, influenced by Allen Iverson, he's wearing locks. And do you know that they told him at that white school that his crown, I like the Crown Act, that his crown was not good, it was inappropriate, and they made him shave his locks. He's only 14 years old. He said he did not grow braids until 14 years later. His testimony is that he knew it was wrong when they did it to him, but he did not have the mental equipment. He did not have the intellectual facility to fight back, but he says, I can fight back now, and he grows his locks back. What am I trying to say? Whenever your mind has been renovated, then you've got the power to fight back. And when you've got the power to fight back, it's because strong minds always break strong chains. I think Langston Hughes was right when Langston poetically testified, Negro, sweet and docile, humble, meek, and kind, but beware of the day when we change our minds. Strong minds can break strong chains. I guess I'll quit. I've held y'all too long. It got good to me. I've missed you. So let me give you this last piece like this. And this really shouts me because Big Sean, the rap artist, he piggybacks on Jesse Jackson. Big Sean has a bar that's mind-blowing. Big Sean said, I learned that a loaded mind is more dangerous than a loaded weapon. You didn't shout. A loaded mind is more dangerous than a loaded weapon. Jeremiah Wright Jr., that great prophet, in 2015 in a sermon testified that our challenge today is to get Pookie to put down the gun and pick up a book. Because once Pookie picks up a book, he'll discover that Big Sean is on point. More dangerous than a loaded weapon is a loaded mind. Because when your mind is loaded, you've got a power that the world didn't give and the world can't take away. Y'all not shouting, but y'all know that's what happened. Kathleen Cleaver says with the Black Panther Party, a young man came to join the Black Panther Party because he was turned on by the black berets and the black jackets and watching them police the police. And when he came to join, he came to get his black beret and black jacket, and instead they gave him a stack of books, and he said, I thought y'all were going to arm me. He said, when you read those, you will be armed, because strong minds break strong chains. A loaded mind is more powerful than a loaded weapon. Y'all didn't get it, so let me call the roll. Y'all do know we've had some loaded minds, and they were more powerful than loaded weapons. The loaded minds of the Dogon people before Columbus got lost and Copernicus had a telescope, looked up and discerned that the constellation of the stars declared that the earth was not flat, but it was round. That was the Dogon people of Africa. They had strong minds breaking strong chains. Y'all didn't get it. Strong minds built great libraries at the University of Timbuktu. Strong minds break strong chains. It was the strong minds of Africans kidnapped and brought to these shores who in a real sense taught this country how how to deal with the smallpox outbreak, because our strong minds, they broke strong chains. Y'all still not shouting, but it was the strong mind of Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth that helped to break the strong chains of the most evil expression of enslavement in the history of humanity. It was the strong mind of Ida B. Wells who helped break the back of the lynching culture in this country. It was the strong mind of Paul Robeson who lifted up the beauty of blackness and stood against economic injustice in this country. It was the strong mind of W.E.B. Du Bois, who went to Harvard University along with Carter G. Woodson and then began to break the stereotype of ignorant black people in this country. It was the strong mind of Martin Luther King Jr., who marched from Selma to Montgomery to break the back of Jim and Jane Crow segregation. It was the strong mind of Charles Hamilton Houston, who used Howard University Law School as a place for social engineering that set the stage for the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education. It was the strong mind of Fannie Lou Hamer, who went to Atlantic City, New Jersey, to the Democratic National Convention and declared, we're going to have democracy because we ain't coming for 2 seats. All of us is tired. It was the strong mind of Ella Baker, who said strong folk don't need strong leaders. All of us have leadership capacity. It was the strong mind of Jesse Jackson, who declared, if y'all won't go get Robert Goodman, I'll go get Robert Goodman. It was the strong mind of Jesse Jackson, who said, if y'all won't go to Iraq and deal with Saddam Hussein, I'll go deal with Saddam Hussein and free hundreds of those who were prisoners over in Iraq. Thank you that strong minds break strong chains, because my Bible says God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. Strong minds break strong chains, because Jesus said, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Strong minds